We have a Chrysler 300M, so 2002, and we're going to be replacing both the belts and the pulleys that we have on here. And you notice that there's not a lot of room in here, but we're going to go ahead and try to get in here and get started on this. Okay, and the first thing I'm doing is getting to this tensioner down here, and it's down here underneath where this bolt is. And I've just got an extension, and you can see where I've got my ratchet placed below that alternator there, and we're just going to go ahead and loosen that so we can get the belt loose. And you'll just want to kind of note about the position of the bolt, where it is, and kind of give you an idea of where that you're going to have to tighten it back to. So we're going to go ahead and just it's kind of hard to see down in there, but it's way down in below there. We're going to go ahead and get that loose and slip the belt off here. Like I said, just not a lot of room, but you just kind of have to work around this here. Okay, so I'm just turning it here. I've got it loose, and I'm just kind of doing this by hand now. You can see that tensioner there spinning, and I'm just kind of got my arm down in here and just kind of backing it off by hand at this point. Okay, so I've got my tensioner bolt backed off that you can see down there, and now I'm just up here on the front. I'm using a 15. I've got a just using a ratchet wrench. You just don't have a lot of room up here to be using a ratchet, so you'll just get a ratchet wrench on the front. We're going to go ahead and loosen this here now, and then we'll go ahead and get this belt slipped off and stuff. Okay, I would just point something out. My ratchet wrenches are straight. If you try to use the curved end of your wrench, so this one's curved, you're not going to be able to have clearance to fit in there, so you'd have to use that straight end or have a straight wrench. And these are so tight that so with the lack of room, you're going to have to get a little cheater bar. In this case, I'm just using a couple of wrenches here, kind of slipped over the top of that one to get the leverage because it's really tight. It is regular threads. In other words, it's just, you know, right-handed threads, but it's just, these are really snug in here and not real easy to get to. So I'm going to be replacing this whole thing here. So I'm going to be taking it completely out of that that stud that it's on there. So you can see now I've already got this belt completely loose where I can get this off of here. So we're just going to go ahead and work on getting that belt completely off, and then I'll move on to my other belt in the back here, and it's a V belt. We're going to be replacing that also. Okay, so we're just going ahead and getting this this upper tensioner completely off. We're going to get it replaced. Okay, and there's the nut that's holding that on there, and we should be able to slip this off, hopefully. Okay, or give me just a moment. I'm gonna have to, there we go. So there is that, and we've got our new one. And it's not a bad idea to compare these to make sure that they are the same. So I'm going to figure out what I dropped down there. I'm going to go ahead and slip this back on. Okay, this is the piece that had fell under the car that I was looking for. I haven't found it, but this new one came with a new one, so that just be mindful of that when you take that off, because the chances are you can drop it. So it's just a little bushing that goes over that stud right there, and just seats into the bearing. And we're going to go ahead and slip that over that right now and just get the nut back on it there. And then I'm also going to have to go ahead and get this up on ramps because I have a tensioner. The next one we have to get to is down in here, and I don't even think I can really show you from up here. It's just kind of hard to see, but it's right down under there. You can see, kind of see that stud right there. That is the other pulley that we have to get to. So we're going to get to work on that as soon as we get this one on. Okay, I did fish that original one out, and you can see it's way better made. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and use that one instead. It actually covers the whole thing there. Okay, I'll say the most difficulty you'll have is getting that started. It's hard to see and hard to get your hand in there, so getting that nut started I had the most difficulty with. We're going to go ahead and tighten that down, and we're just going to snug it. You know, obviously not going to fit a torque wrench in there, so we're just going to snug it down, just not get carried away with it. Okay, so I ran into a problem. These pulleys here are slightly a little bit different, and the old washer wouldn't work on the new one. I'm actually going to have to use this piece for the new one. And another problem I ran into when I tightened the pulley down, you can see how this is the old one. I just put it back on here to see the clearance. We've got like a 1/16 or so clearance. Well, when I put the new one on, it was right smashed up against the bracket there. So I think what I'm going to do is get me a washer in behind the new one and see if that's going to make up that difference to make it work, because this one here is shot for sure. Okay, I have this pulley on here now, and just to show you what I did without taking it back off, all I did was I took a washer this thickness and I put it on the back side, and basically it's the same diameter as the spacer that's on the back there now, and it's just the diameter of that stud bolt. And it's you can see that it's got it spaced out nicely where it's clearing that just like it was before. So it really wasn't a big deal. It just needed that extra little bit of spacing to make it work there. And like I said, this piece wouldn't work on the new one, even though it was kind of hard to tell by looking at them. But the face was a little bit different, and this wouldn't set down onto the bearing to tighten against that. It was actually pushing against the face of the pulley, so I couldn't use that on the replacement there. And that's the way it is with aftermarket. You just plan on running into that kind of stuff all the time. So now I'm going to get started on the lower one, and we'll get that belt off over there as well. Okay, so we're down here in the front over towards the passenger side, you could say, and I've got a 14mm wrench, and we're just fixing to work on this pulley right here. I'm just going to break that nut loose, and we'll go ahead and work on getting the tensioner loose after we get this right here loose. Okay, so I got that loose. I'm just going to go ahead and take this tensioner loose so I'll be able to get this belt off here now, and then we'll just go ahead and slip this belt off. This one actually is easier to get to than the top one up there. It's just not a lot of room up in the front of these, so we're going to go ahead and slip this off. Like I said, this is a V belt over here. I think I've got it enough there. We'll go ahead and loosen that a little bit more. Okay, so I just slipped that belt out of there, And I'm just getting ready to finish taking this here loose. And I've got, like I said, you can tell with these pulleys, if you take and spin them, when you take them off, and you hear any noise at all, then it needs replaced. Shouldn't be any, any sort of noise. It should be feeling like it's spinning free and really smooth. And here is the replacement, and I'm going to match it up as well. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit closer than that other one. Okay, and in the comparison, this looks pretty close to me without measuring it with calipers, but we'll set it up here and see what it's going to do. And this is the little washer piece that just sets inside that once you get it on. Like I said, this one here is really easy to get to, and I'm just getting ready to set it back in place. Okay, so I'm going to spin this one for you and let you hear this. And I mean, I can even feel it, how it feels like sandpaper in there. So these aren't that expensive. Definitely makes things work smoother and takes away those squeaks. And this over here, for that matter, is just got your AC compressor up there, and then you got your tensioner, and then it goes to the crank. Where the other side you get your power steering and your alternator. So I've got this snug down. Like I said, you don't have to get crazy with it. Just tighten it down good. I just done it by hand with that little wrench. Can't really get in there with much of anything. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the new belt on. This is the new one. I noticed that it looks quite a bit different. It's not near as wide as that one, and I'm going to do a little bit of a comparison here. Let me get this out. Okay, so I've checked both these, and this length, as far as the length goes, it appears to be fine. I'm going to keep these old ones just in case I have any trouble. But so it's a V belt, but however, it's much more narrow, it seems, than the other one. So if it's more narrow, then it may have more slack, and it may not work out the same. I don't know. We don't need more than a ½ inch of play when we get the tensioner all tightened down. But we'll go ahead and get this on here and see what happens. Okay, so I think I'd said I'd snug that. Don't snug that until you get your tensioner, but I just got this tensioner tightened up and went ahead and snugged this. Like I said, I've planned on like a ½ inch of play, not a whole lot. And it's not common, to run it a little bit and have to come back and adjust this, if you don't get it tight enough. It's not a big deal. Just loosen that off and just adjust it a little bit more. It's common with new belts, it could have a little bit of play. So we've got this one done, which you'll have to do your V belt first before you do the other one. So we're just going to hop up top now that we got this one and get our other belt put back on. Okay, with that V belt, I kind of worked from the top and the bottom putting it on, so it's not that hard. This one here, I kind of fed it from the top onto the bottom power steering and the crank, and then I pulled it up here to the alternator. I'm just getting ready to push it down below this tensioner and push that up. Okay, so I just finished getting that on that tensioner and tightening that up. Like I said, the only thing I wasn't crazy about in this whole thing is this pulley here just wasn't fitting up, and it had to have a spacer. It should be made the same as the other where you don't have to do that. So we'll see how it does. But I said, really not too bad. This one up here is the most difficult just because it's hard to get in there and do anything. and you know, you sure don't want to go to taking a whole bunch of stuff off, but I was able to get to everything and do everything without taking anything off, you know. So I said hopefully that can help somebody out, and thank y'all for watching.